It's good to see everyone. Good to see everyone in person. It's good to see the guys from the forum actually get out of bed and get dressed and come to work today. So I'd been just talking to you guys on the phone for the last 9 months. But before I get into the recruiting, I'm going to take a minute just to make a general statement. The last 10 days, and really the better part of the last 9 months, have been extremely unique, not only for our football program, but for our community, for our country. And just in the last few days, we've had some people have to deal with some adversity. And talking about Amy and Grant Olson, Randy Hedberg, and even Tyler Roll. And so I just want everyone to know that my thoughts, our thoughts as a program, are with them. But also we've had a number of student athletes that have had to deal with losing grandparents to the virus and unable to get back to funerals and to see those people. And so I thought it would be just appropriate at this time just to probably at least acknowledge that there is, sometimes we like to, when we're not successful on a fourth down or we don't convert third down, we think, boy, there's a huge piece of adversity right there. And that's just a minor setback. When you don't get to see people again, that's real adversity. So I just wanted to make sure Grant and Amy knew that we were thinking about them during this time. Today's one of those days, my grandpa used to say that they're red letter days, meaning that they're positive. Things are moving in the right direction. And with recruiting being the lifeblood of your program, I think this class in itself emulates what we wanted to do. And it started back, if I could, rewind back to March 13th. That was the last day we had actual recruits on campus. From that day on, the NCAA prevented us from having any face-to-face interaction, anyone on campus, and so it became an extremely unique year. No different than anyone else at the Division I level, but the coaches, our staff, our administration, our faculty members, all were unbelievably supportive and instrumental in putting this class together. One of the hashtags you'll see us use occasionally is different. Our program is built different. It's just different to be part of it. Our university's different in a positive way. And so thank you to all the people that have helped us. A quick story. I'm sure he was not prepared for it when I asked him for a favor, but I saw President Bashani early in the recruiting process. Knew we couldn't get our top guys on campus, and I asked him to write some letters to our top kids, and then I handed him a stack of paper about a half-inch thick. So, but to have a president of your university write handwritten notes to your top 50 or so potential 21 recruits, I think tells you the importance of athletics, but also the relationship we have between the administration, the faculty, and the football program here at NDSU. The one thing that we never wavered from in the signing of this class were the four things that we routinely talk about. Recruiting young men with great character. You guys are great character men, make great Bison. Secondly, intelligence. I don't know off the top of my head, but how many of these young men are academic all-state? A number of them are academic scholarship winners here on campus and through other avenues. Toughness. If you're going to play at NDSU, you have to have a level of toughness. We're going to win the line of scrimmage. We're built on running the football and stopping the run. And so to survive here and to be effective or to have success, you have to have a level of toughness. And then the last thing is athleticism. And so I think you can look at all 24 of these young men. They encompass those things. And then the last thing is really the only philosophical change that we made during the recruiting process for the 21 class was shortly after spring break in March, we came back together via Zoom and sat down and kind of said, where and how do we want to go about doing this? We're not going to be able to get into homes and get into high schools. So how can we best evaluate young men and make sure we're hitting on what we need to hit on as far as recruits? And what we came up as a staff and as a program is we were going to make sure we emphasized our footprint, the region that we've been successful in for years. And I think you see 21 of the 24 young men fall within that footprint. And then we ended up doing a great job in a couple remote areas, Frisco, Texas, Atlanta, all right, Tampa Bay, Bloomingdale area, and signing some kids for some schools that we had connections with. I think this year, no different than any, but maybe even more importantly, was the relationship that we had with high school coaches, with owners of gyms, owners of acceleration companies. I mean, all these kids are working out different places. And to have great feedback, honest feedback was going to be critical in this evaluation period, because there wasn't going to be a young man that was going to come to campus a dozen times. We were going to Zoom a dozen times. And so it was unique. But to create those relationships, to get connected with these kids, our staff has done an unbelievable job of developing those relationships, and that's why we have 24 unbelievable young men that are going to be joining us here in the fall and in the summer, hopefully. I think all of these guys, we hit the nail on the head as far as fit. All these guys are going to be tremendous fits in the class. I'm going to make comment on some of them. I'm going to try to make a quick comment on most of them, and then I'll open it up for questions. But the first group I'm going to refer to is from our home state, the state of North Dakota. I think we did a tremendous job. It's our philosophy that the best players in the state of North Dakota play at the best university in the state of North Dakota, and that's NDSU. And I think you can look at it, and it's, I don't know if Ryan did this intentionally, but the very first one on here, Jackson Dutenheffer out of Mandan, North Dakota, was actually our first commit this year. So Ryan, great job on putting that guy. Jackson's a tremendous playing basketball, two-way starter in football. A quick story. I'm just telling you the type of individual he is, besides a great football player and student, is as the course of the last 9 months have gone on, we have written numerous letters. We've kind of gone back to old school. We've put the U.S. Postal Service to work, handwritten notes, handwritten letters, and all of a sudden there was a Monday I walk in and I had a little note, an envelope, and Jackson Dutenheffer had written everyone on our staff a letter. And his comment was, "You guys have spent so much time writing me, it was about time I wrote you back." And so I think that says a lot about the type of kids we have. And this morning when I had a chance to Zoom with him and Mom, he told me that it was his dream to be a Bison. And so those are the fun ones that you get to recruit. Enoch C Bumana, tremendous athlete from South Fargo, played on both sides of the football, played a little running back, played a little tight end, hard-hitting safety. I think he's going to fit into Code Green really well. Barika, Pinu. I've had an opportunity with having two boys at the high school level. I've probably seen Barika play upwards of 20, 22 games during his career. Tremendous success. I take the head coaching hat off a little bit while I'm at those games, but still continue to get a chance to evaluate. And I've told people before, I think he is a tremendous talent. He's going to fit into our room. He runs extremely hard. He's a violent runner. And I think if this young man would have grown up 3 hours south of us, it would have been a struggle to get him to become a Bison. That's how special I think he is. Maybe we have the luxury of just being a little bit more remote than some, but I know his dad's an alum. His parents are extremely excited that he's going to be here. Family is extremely important. Not only his family that he lives with, but the NDSU family as well. And so to make sure that we signed him was tremendous. Cole Menz, another young man from Cheyenne High School, had an opportunity to see him play a bunch as well. And to see him develop from his junior to senior year, I know it says he weighs 200 pounds. It's probably closer to 220 right now. He's a weight room guy. He's gonna really do well with Coach Buddha in the defensive end position, and really excited about Cole. Cole's going to be a high academic young man, going to school pre-med, and so again, young man that's been able to balance both academics and athletic success. Jack Steckler, young man from Bismarck, hockey, football. Got to see him play a little bit when Cheyenne played Bismarck High in the semifinals, and he does everything. Played defense, played on every special team, played offense, tight end, flexed him out as a receiver. Coach Roll is getting a good one, a young man that wants to be here. You look at his 6'5", 210 pounds right now. Built by Kramer is going to be in effect. And this young man's going to be 6'5", 250 pounds in a blink of an eye. And that's just the way we do it. We're a developmental program, and we're going to continue to develop these high school kids. And then the last young man from North Dakota is Truman Warmeyer. Dad's the head football coach at Davies. Going to play fullback for us, and I'm truly excited. He is going to fit into the role of a fullback. Jed Nasir, all right, the guys who've come before him at that position, and he's going to be ready to kick out power. And I'm extremely excited. I know Coach Roll's excited. This kid, again, one of those high-end academic. Mom works on campus, I believe, in the pharmacy, School of Pharmacy. And so one of those young men that grew up wanting to be in the green and yellow, and so truly excited to have him. Minnesota signed 5 young men from the state of Minnesota. And again, the state of Minnesota, in my mind, is local area to us. So we need to continue to get the best players out of there. Finn Diggins out of Perham, another tight end, big, long body. When we came together and kind of started talking about how we were going to evaluate, the comment multi-sport athlete became extremely important. We can't just see football players. We need to see them do multiple things. If you've ever had the opportunity of watching Finn Diggins' basketball highlight, it is dunk after dunk after dunk. This young man running up and down the court, elevating, and the athleticism was there. And now, all right, we're going to get an opportunity to develop him as a football player, and truly excited about him and his family joining us. Eli Green, a wide receiver from Farmington, Minnesota. Farmington's just south of Lakeville, where we've had a ton of success. Relatively new school. Eli had numerous offers from the Missouri Valley. Is going to be a special player. Was on our recruiting board both as a corner and as a wide receiver. The thing that I really stands out to me in the process, Farmington has had some struggles in football winning games. All of a sudden, you talk about a young man who's helped flip the script a little bit at Farmington, and all of a sudden there's a 7-1 record right there. Tells me we recruited not only a really good football player, but a winner as well. Sam Henry, big offensive lineman from Eden Prairie. Unbelievably athletic family. Mom was a collegiate track star at Drake. Dad played collegiate football at Drake. Sister plays lacrosse at Marquette. Brother plays basketball at Sioux Falls. Sam's 6'6", plays for one of the best programs in the state. Traditionally, Coach Grant does an unbelievable job. You can go back probably 20, 25 years, and that tradition continues. Players from good programs like that want to come and play at other good programs, and so extremely excited. I know Coach Blazik is extremely excited to have him join the Rams, and he's going to be a big part of what we do in the future. A familiar name, Bryce Lance. One of the last commitments we had, and we went the full process. One of the things that we communicated with Bryce when we first started, or we made the offer, was we're going to recruit you as Bryce. The name Trey wasn't going to come up in conversation because it didn't have anything to do with Trey. The things he had put on film were the reasons why we wanted to recruit him. He had numerous offers from other Missouri Valley schools, some Ivy League schools, an extremely bright young man, comes from great parents. The great thing about it is the ease of transition for him to come to NDSU is going to be minimal. He already has probably 50 or 60 good friends on the football team, and so we're excited to get him up here and to have a big 6'2", 6'3", X-wide receiver again. Being a former defensive coordinator, I know the value of having that big-time receiver that you can put to the single receiver side. Are you going to roll coverage to him? Are you going to roll coverage to the field? And all of a sudden now you have a one-on-one on the backside. I mean, there's things we can do there, especially with guys like Bryce. Braden Weber, a linebacker from Becker, Minnesota. Becker High School, home of Dylan Radens, Nick Radens, just to name a couple young men that are from. Bo Pauley was a Becker, Minnesota alum. Coach Lundeen, one of the best 4A programs in the state. And again, you go back to coaches you trust in the process. Had a great conversation with Coach Lundeen. And Braden's going to fit right into the linebacker room, and a bigger linebacker. Going to give us some help maybe at that Mike or Will position, one of those linebackers that doesn't necessarily have to leave the box. From the great state of Wisconsin, Cam Devine, a running back from Brookfield Central. I tell you what, I think this kid is going to be pretty special. Big back, 6'3". We have him at 210 pounds. Maybe he could be a Mike linebacker. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'll have to talk with the offensive staff a little bit about that one. But uber talented kid. And he comes from a good football big class football in the state of Wisconsin. Really good football. Coach Gazer and Coach Larson do a tremendous job over there. Alex Osner, I hope I said that correctly. Plays for Bill Young at Catholic Memorial. If anyone knows Bill Young, living legend among high school coaches in the state of Wisconsin, in my opinion, been uber successful. And so when Coach Young calls you and says, hey, I think this kid can play for the Bison, everyone's eyebrows raise. And so, again, reining in kind of our territory where we wanted to recruit and make sure we got the right kids here. But really excited for him to join us on the defensive side of the football. Caden Warren, another D tackle from the west coast of Wisconsin, from Rice Lake. Going to be an exceptional defensive tackle, plays with great energy, good pad level, and is going to be a great addition to the room for Coach Gazer and the defensive tackles. Speaking of D tackles, Cody Heisman from the state of Iowa, really 6'3", 260 pounds already. Going to probably work his way into the depth chart sooner than later. Excited to get him here in the summer. Blake Sater, an offensive lineman from Trainer, Iowa, right outside of Council Bluffs. Plays center, can play guard. Another one of Coach Blazek's Rams that he's super excited about. Bright kid. Really glad to get a couple more Iowans on the roster and be able to dip down a little bit farther south this year. From the state of Missouri, Reggie King. Reggie is a long, lean defensive back. I think we're up in the air yet if he's a safety or a corner, but I think that's a positive thing. He's going to add depth to the room immediately. It's fun getting a chance to recruit Grandview High School in the Kansas City area. Last time I was at that high school or recruited anyone from that high school, name was Xavier Williams, playing in the NFL now. It was a defensive lineman for me at UNI. And so we know the caliber of football in that area and really excited to have Reggie. Logan Copp, one of those young men that kind of does it all for his high school over in St. Louis. Plays tailback, plays linebacker. Going to play linebacker for us at NDSU. Had a number of offers coming out of high school. A unique thing, and it's not just exclusive to him, but him and his family came up here on their own and went around Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo, and had an opportunity just to see what the community offers. And that's one of the things that was tough this year because it's such an easy sell, the people and the community. Most people have a stereotype of Fargo, that's way up there. And when they get here, they don't realize there's a downtown, things are growing, things are expanding, and it's a very progressive community. And so to have people and parents and guardians willing to bring their recruits up here just to see our community, I think told you the investment that these people had in NDSU. State of Illinois, Mike Florentine, long snapper, special teams, you got to have special people. And he's going to be, we're Ross Kennelly, a senior for us right now at that long snapping position. And so it was critical that we could find a young man who could back him up and we can move forward with in the program. From the state of Nebraska, I'd be lying to you if this was my favorite person from the state, since my wife is from there, so I probably can't go that far, but a pretty big get for us today. Out of Westside High School, Coach Hedberg is on cloud 9 today. Cole Payton, quarterback. Been a great recruiting experience with Cole. Cole's recruited us as much as anything. Has visited with every single one of our staff members every Thursday night during the fall. About 7 o'clock, I got a phone call from Cole. Now, every time he called, I might have held my breath for a second. But just wanted to check in, see how the Bison were doing that week. And he's tremendous character. He's outstanding. We do. I know Nate, our equipment guy's not here, but we got to get some left-handed footballs ordered. So we're going to need a little bit of budget, Matt, to take care of those. But it will be interesting. Last left-handed quarterback I think we recruited was a guy who ended up doing okay, but on the other side of the football, and that's Esley Thornton. Had a big pick in the 2014 National Championship game. From Kansas, Braden Rucker, offensive lineman from Eureka, played defensive end, primary position in high school. Get to see great movement, great skill set, we're going to move him to the offensive line. And again, in a program like ours where running the football, protecting the quarterback is critical to our success, having a guy with his athleticism is going to be critical, and I know Coach Blazik's excited to have him. The last couple guys are from some remote areas, a community that's familiar to all of us. Ryan Jones from Frisco, Texas. 2 years ago, we made the decision to start recruiting about 14 schools in the state of Texas, and mostly Allen and the Frisco community. We can't do it justice to go down there and recruit the entire thing. And I always warn Buddha, who recruits Texas for us, that the state of Texas is like a rabbit hole. Before you know it, you're going to be in Houston chasing a recruit. We need to make sure we get the best kids out of Frisco. Those kids know who we are. They have a connection to us. And one of the unique stories with Ryan is he actually held the American flag during the national anthem of the last national championship. So maybe it was just fate. It was supposed to happen this way. But extremely excited for big, long kid. 6'3", could probably help us in the slot. Nickel could help a strong safety. Really, we'll see how Coach Kramer and his development happens, but really excited about him. Nasir Howell, corner from North Cobb High School in Georgia, had an unbelievable season. Went to the second round, one of the best years that high school has ever had. Nasir will be with us in January. Him and his father are going to arrive the first week of January. We're going to get him in the weight room. We seldom have early enrollees, but Nasir was adamant that he wanted to get here, learn the system. Per NCAA rules, he won't be able to play for us in the spring. But I told him on the Zoom this morning and the other day, expectations are high here that he's going to get it figured out, right, Coach Braun? And then we're going to be able to play him early in his career. And then the last is Britton Pasco, a young defensive back, a corner from Bloomingdale High School in Florida, same high school as Dominic Ganella. And so Coach Pauly's done an outstanding job of laying the groundwork and really consistently getting the best players out of the Tampa, Polk County area in the state of Florida. We routinely go down there. We have great following. Those kids know who we are. Those high school coaches know the Bison. We're fortunately on TV enough where those kids can see the brand of football we play. They hear this. They hear about Chris Board and playing 60-some snaps last week in an NFL game, and that translates to those guys and the quality of football that we play here. And so really excited about Britton. Coming off a little bit of an injury, going to get healthy. We're going to get him up here this summer and get him ready to go, and he's going to help us in the back end, and Coach Morgan back with the Wolfpack. So excited about the class. Those are the 24. Probably took a little bit longer than normal, but I felt like all of them deserved a little bit of recognition because I'm excited. This group's going to complement the class before it, which complemented the class before it. We need to continue to get the right young men in here, and I think we have. I think if you look at this sheet, we did a quick, I think almost every single one of these young men were captains of their high school football team. And I think that's an unbelievably a valuable trait that they have. Be a leader in your church, in your community, your high school team, basketball team, whatever it might be. But we want guys who are comfortable being up front, guys who are comfortable demanding, demanding effort, demanding execution, demanding it be done right. So with that, I'm going to open it up to any questions.
Really intrigued by this Cole story that he would call you every Thursday. So, have you ever experienced that? How different is it? How unique is it? And can you just kind of elaborate on what that says about him and his commitment? I know you said you got nervous. I would too. But what that says about his commitment and want to be a Bison, how different that was.
Well, I think it speaks volume to his willingness to continue to grow. He continued along the way to have great relationships with Coach Hedberg and Coach Roll, the two people that he's going to have the most interaction with. But seldom do you see a young man who wants to go out and have that same relationship with the head football coach. Sometimes, not to drag on here, Beth, but being the head football coach is a lot like being the principal of a high school. The only time you talk to him, it's usually negative. And so trying to, I think Cole saw that this is a positive thing. I want to have great relationships with everybody. because he's going to hit the ground running, and we have high expectations for him, but we have high expectations for everyone. The nervousness probably lowered a little bit middle of the fall, and then in the last week or two, probably ramped back up again every time. But that just showed you how excited I was just to have him there, and the conversation became part of our Thursday night. You know, the boys were there. My wife, who is a Nebraska native, of course, probably had 1,000 questions for him. Do you like chili and cinnamon rolls, which apparently is a Nebraska thing? And so they connected and hit it off right away.
Describe the challenges of a left-handed quarterback and what that presents in terms of preparation, and even now adjusting that now the right tackle is the blind side instead of the left tackle.
Well, there'll be some things that we have to look at, of course. All of that will in due time. I think first things first, we got to make sure Cole gets up here and understands what he's doing offensively. But there will be some different thought process, and probably along the way, when and if Cole becomes the starter, I would anticipate Coach Roll's call card would probably reflect some things that you want to call off a different hash than maybe what you've been traditionally called off for a right-handed quarterback. But I think with the amount of practice that we have and how we practice, there'll be plenty of reps to work through those issues.
Like, as a defensive guy, are you just drooling at the mouth knowing what other teams will have to deal with?
As far as with Cole?
Yeah.
Well, of course. I think he brings a great balance of being able to be a huge part of our five-step passing game, but also a big part of our quarterback run game that we've been able to take advantage of. How do you want to defend the Bison? Are you going to get in single high and play an 8-man box and try to fit everything up, and then all of a sudden we're in the gun? You know, sometimes you run out of bodies in a single high defense, and that free safety, it's him and the quarterback. And I'll put money on a lot of our quarterbacks that we've had play here.
Super curious about how you guys kind of approach this year. You talked about that Zoom meeting this spring, but did you go down the list and say these are our needs? Because I know you guys talk a lot about going after the best person, the best character, but did you evaluate those needs, or do you guys have all these guys throwing their hat in the ring of, I need this position, I need this guy? What's that dynamic like?
Well, there's always concerns of roster management and how attrition, graduation affect you, so you try to foreshadow a little bit where you're going to be a couple years out is kind of my thought process. Not necessarily who we're losing in 21, but what's it look like in 22, because that's when we're going to have to start asking these young men to be on special teams, on maybe start helping us in situational football, find their role, if you will. But we have some good conversation. We talk about kind of what we're going to allot towards each position. Our coaches start creating a list. We already have 22 boards that have been developed. Our coaches are in the process of narrowing those down. Right now, because of some uncertainty with roster management moving forward, my best bet, I told everyone, anticipate recruiting at least one. And that's really one of the things that my philosophy is. We're going to take one of everything every year, because there's always the injury that you never account for. There's always someone who falls out of love with the game or graduates early that you don't anticipate. And if you take at least one, you feel like you always have at least something there as depth, and you're developing depth along the way.
Flips this year as usual, or seems like there's less?
They're very few. We had we probably had more commitments early in the process this year than I would remember in years past. Typically, it's been the week after camp. And unfortunately, we couldn't have camp this year. And so, that's always a huge piece for us. I think if any of these guys would have came to camp, we still would have recruited them, because I think we just did that good a job of evaluating and getting to know them and uncovering every stone possible to identify if they were the right get for us.
You mentioned, have you gotten a little bit more clarity on maybe some guys that aren't coming back?
Haven't really talked much about it. I know our roster's pretty much set for spring. We'll continue to have more and more conversations as we move forward into the fall of 21. But I don't anticipate much prior even to that. What'll be unique, and you ask a great question, is what this year's created is an imbalance between academics and eligibility with the extra year. And so we're going to have some young men that are going to have to make decisions about, do I want the job now? Do I want to go ahead and get married and just start my life now, or do I want to come back and play the extra year? I'm going to continue to be transparent and unbelievably forthright with my opinion. I know our coaches are doing the same thing, but we're going to handle each situation separately. But I think right now our football team's in a really good place. We've had a tremendous offseason. Coach Kramer worked his magic again. We had 8 outstanding weeks of development, and he even made a comment we might be as strong as we've ever been. And you know, with some of the times and numbers that I saw from our young kids, I'm excited to get them back here early in January.
Kobe or DJ Hart or Courtney, whatever, I mean, you guys have made hay in the late signing period. Do you feel like you've allowed yourself a couple to spend again yet?
We're never done recruiting. Never done.
Supposed to be kind of the comfort year of your coaching job. You were supposed to, you had all the firsts out of the way, and you had this thrown in. How do you think this, though, how do you move forward? You learn from it. Like, I'm sure you're telling your guys every step of the way, these are all learning opportunities. What do you think you've taken away from this unique experience? You mentioned the writing letters. Are there things you think you'll continue to implement you learned this year?
Oh, I think Zoom. Yep, Zoom. We'll continue to utilize it. I think especially Coach Buddha, Coach Pauly, who have some more, I'm going to say remote, just farther away, recruiting areas. You know, you're talking about young men that traditionally, guys from the state of Minnesota, North Dakota, they're here 10, 12 times during the process. You know, they're part of the program before they ever sign. Well, from Florida, Atlanta, Texas, you're hoping to get them here once or twice. And so Zoom can allow us to go through maybe a virtual type of visit situation, meet all the coaches, meet our support, Kelly, Coach Kramer, Matt Larson, all these people that we've utilized without being on campus. You know, and so maybe it is only one time we get them, but when they get here, they feel like they've already connected with our program and the people associated with it.
When the Big 12 starts talking to a couple of your commits.
Just keep talking about the reason why we've recruited them. We talk about the connection we have with them. When we started the process, you know, with both, I'm assuming I know who you're talking about. With both these young men, you know, we've been recruiting them since early in their junior year. The level of comfort not only they had, but their parents had with our staff, with our university, and I think that's what you sell. You sell to people. How quick can you make a relationship in 4 days? We make it over the course of 12 months, and I think that's what separates us. It goes back to. We only offered about 45 guys this year, and we have an unbelievable class of 24. But because we offer a limited number, it allows us to do the due diligence on the back end and really get to know each one of these young men.
Describe, I guess, the diligence or going into Georgia and Florida, then to see a Kobe Johnson or a Christian Watson play. Did that pay off now in this recruiting class, you think?
You're referring to just the going back. Oh, it definitely has. Coach Williams has done a tremendous job. I've been down there before. Last January, I got to go down there with him for about 4 days, and everybody knows who the Bison were. And I'll tell you a quick story. We were at North Gwinnett High School talking to the head football coach, and it was me and Coach Pruitt, the head football coach at Tennessee, and the head coach said, well, I'm going to bring you both in at the same time. That just shows you the value of our logo, of Bison Nation, seen by other football coaches. That we're in the same conversations as the SEC down there, and so those people see us play, and we're going to continue to get down there now, with the idea that we can get things trending in a positive way. I hope maybe in the spring, per NCAA rules, we can get back out and get back down into those areas. But I'd be remiss too if I didn't mention Coach Pauly. Everyone, like I said, Tampa, Polk County, they know who he is. They trust him. Those kids want to be here, and I think the history of kids from Polk County, Trey Dempsey, Chris Board, Josh Hayes now is having great success, and there's more that are on the way. Jalen Bussey. I think every recruit in Tampa knows who Jalen Bussey is, because he's just such a charismatic young man, and he works hard, and I think that shows a lot about our program.
This is a year that will pay dividends down the road because those people, those relationships, those coaches, those trainers, they really kind of felt that extra value this year that you think will kind of pay dividends down the road, or is this a result of everything you guys have done up until this point?
I think it's a little bit of a result. We were going to make connections with these recruits regardless if we were on campus or off. Our philosophy is still the same. It's about people. It's about the experience here at NDSU. That's what we sell. The championships are fun, but we like to talk about them. But at the end of the day, you got to enjoy the people you're around and see the education that you're going to get and know that you're going to come out of here with some great friends too. So I think the fact that we're thorough, we're honest with these coaches, we get back to them. We make a point of returning phone calls, returning emails. I think that's where they may not like the evaluation we gave them, but they know that we're giving them a thorough one. And so they're more likely then to say, hey, maybe next year I'll have a guy. We'll be in touch. And so I think it's consistency. And our staff has done a tremendous job with that.
It's a little bit off topic, but what have you seen? What can you characterize from what you've seen from Zeb ever since Trey's announcement and being the man?
Well, he's trying to be out front a little bit more. His role's changed. He's become QB1 all of a sudden by attrition. And the expectations have ramped up as well, not only from me, but from Coach Hedberg and our offensive staff and our football team. He needs to – we all know when you have the title of quarterback, it doesn't matter if you're a captain or not, you better be a leader. And, those are the things right now that he's figuring out that, hey, everyone watches me now. And everyone is listening to me, so my words and actions got to match up. And we're excited about him. He's doing he's going to stick around for the majority of break because he wants to be prepared. He wants to be ready to go, and he should be. What an exciting time. This is part of the reason 2 years ago he came here, was to have the opportunities like this to be the guy. And so we look forward to it. And I know our football team is extremely supportive of Zeb.
A little bit about these North Dakota kids. Collected,
Say that one more time. Sorry, Beth.
It's okay, I'm wearing a mask. Can you go in a little bit on these North Dakota kids that you guys were able to collect? I mean, obviously these kids at this point, they've watched NDSU win national championships now. So more than ever, they're growing up wanting to be a Bison. Can you talk about that dynamic of recruiting these kids, evaluating that talent, and having to tell a lot of kids no as well? I mean, you get paid the big bucks to be the bad guy too, but just handling that dynamic and what NDSU means to kids these days in North Dakota.
Well, I think the first thing that I need to probably make comment of, and I wish I'd have done it earlier, is I think you have seen the increase or an increase in number of recruitable kids out of the state of North Dakota, because in just my 8 years that I've been here, I've seen a significant difference in the level of North Dakota football, especially here in Fargo. The football is improving. Is that a byproduct of Bison's success? Probably not, but I think there are kids that have all they've known since 8 or 9 years old is the Bison and the Bison going to games, seeing the Bison on TV, hopefully going to youth camp, then going to high school camp. And so I think there is an affinity to want to play for your state university, the State University of North Dakota. And so I'm pleased. We say it every year. We have to start with the best football players in the state of North Dakota. And I think we have 5 home runs right here. We're extremely excited. Were there some that we couldn't take? You can't take everybody during a recruiting cycle, and that is frustrating. There's a lot of good football players out there, but our roster is limited to a certain extent, and we kind of go out there with a plan that this is what we need to fill our roster, and we're looking for the right fit.